Dan Shinder here live on Drum Talk TV. Yeah, now we're live. I hope everybody's well. I hope everybody's, there we go. Hope everybody's taking care of themselves and doing the right thing. And I'm here with Dr. Nadia Azar with another installment of Drummer Health and talking about drumming injuries. And I came up with a couple ideas for topics, and Nadia said, no, what's wrong with you? Everybody is home with nothing to do but practice, pretty much. So they're going to be practicing more, which means a lot of you are probably going to incur some boo-boos because you're going to be overextending yourself and playing more than you probably have in a while. Right, Nadia?
Yep, that's definitely a concern.
Yeah, so I said, wow, what a great idea for a topic. Glad I thought of that. Just kidding. And folks, if you see me look over here, I'm not like bored with the interview or anything or the topics. I'm checking your comments to see who has questions. But first off, tell us where you're watching from. I'm in Globe, Arizona, up in the mountains 100 miles east of Phoenix, where it's cooler, hopefully safer. And Nadia are you in Windsor or near Windsor?
I don't actually live in Windsor, so I'm at my home office, because we're all physically distancing. And the university is, well, we're not closed, but we're on essential services only. So only the most important things are running at this time. Everything else has been moved, or at least physically running. Everything else is online. So I'm at my home, which is just outside of Windsor.
Canada, that is, folks. Not
still
Australia.
In Canada, yes.
Yeah. Right across the water from Detroit, basically, right?
Yep, exactly.
Great. So tell us where you're watching from, folks, and let us know if you have questions for Nadia, and we'll address those. Before we launch into this, Nadia, I want to let you know that I think it was the last show, no, it was the show before, where I started, as my wife says, complaining about the fact that my left hand, my snare hand, was starting to incur some pain. And you mentioned that, well, you did change drum heads. Do you think that has something to do with it? And I thought about it, and while I don't want to wish any bad will on these wonderful drum heads that I have on my Big Blue kit, I thought about it, and I thought, yeah, the tension does feel different. It's different. And I've been playing a lot more on my smaller kit, my Welch Tuning Systems kit, which is a totally different feel, totally different heads. And then, after playing on that, I found myself naturally adapting some of the playing style to the other kit again, and I'm not feeling any of that pain anymore, which is really cool. So it's like, it all was in the way I was striking the drum, probably a little too hard for the tension that was on that particular head, where I really didn't need to get the sound out of it I want. So I just kind of adapted. So that's kind of a cool little evolution in my drumming injury world. I still kind of clench my beak with a stick once in a while going across, but hey, it gets in the way. What can I say?
Well, that's not my area, but what a great example of paying attention to your body, and how by noticing these things early on and being mindful of them, you probably didn't make major changes to your playing.
It doesn't sound any different. I just feel better now, you know.
And that was just enough to stop that. Like, if you had done nothing and just kept continuing, and I'm just going to plow through it, it's going to be fine. It wouldn't be fine.
Right. Who knows what shape it would be in now? Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So before it became a major problem, you were able to make some small adaptations and changes, and now the pain has gone away. So that is exactly the kinds of scenarios that I want more and more drummers doing, is recognizing when something's not right, thinking about what it might be, or getting some advice on what it might be, and making these small changes that might be just enough to get you through that and get you back on track.
Yeah, it's so important. I know that as drummers, we're the most physical musicians, and therefore a lot of us have a I'm tough mentality, and it's important that we recognize pain and inflammation as a signal from our body. And
absolutely,
when we can make it go away without subtracting that activity, but just doing differently, that's the big win. So I'm hoping people will do the same and pay attention and make some adjustments.
Absolutely. That's the goal, is to get rid of the pain without getting rid of the activity. And you're quite right that pain is like literally the biological function of pain. The entire reason we even feel pain at all is as a signal that something isn't right.
Like an alarm.
It's literally your body's warning system.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely not something. It's like ignoring your fire alarm when it goes off in your house.
Exactly.
You wouldn't do that, so you don't ignore pain either. Well, yeah.
It's funny, that happened next door to us today. Early in the morning, I'm up,
oh, no.
starting to make breakfast, and I hear sirens, and then I keep hearing them stop. And the little building next to us started to catch on fire. So that was kind of our excitement for the morning. But everything turned out okay. No serious damage or anything, or, nothing to our property, thankfully. But what can drummers do, being that they're going to be at home working out more on practice pads, working out more on their snare drums, working out more on their tenors if they're in marching and they play tenors or bass drum or whatever, and then of course on the drum sets, what can drummers and percussionists do who don't even use sticks a lot of the times, just playing with their hands on congas and bongos and things like that? What can we do to not only, so if we all agree that we understand what the warning signs are, what can we do to prevent it getting to that point if we're going to be playing more? Is it stretching? Is it just not playing full force? What can we do?
So there are a few things. So one of them is, like you say, paying attention to your body and watching for warning signs. Warming up before you play is really important. It's especially if you're going to be playing for a long time. It's there or the reason to warm up is to prepare your body for that strenuous activity.
Right.
You want to do something for a few minutes that's going to get your heart rate up, and then do some dynamic stretching. So before you play is not the time where you want to be doing those static stretches, like hold for 30 seconds, that kind of thing. That's not helpful as a warm up. What you want to be doing is the more like actual movements. So wrist circles in both directions, elbow pronation and supination exercises, shoulder circles, that sort of thing. And do something
slow it down a little. Those are big words with a lot of syllables for drummers. Okay, come on now.
I think you guys can follow. I'm confident you can follow. So some stuff like that, along with something to get your heart rate up. So even just jogging in place for a minute or two, some quick jumping jacks. Just you want to get your heart rate pumping, because that's pumping blood to the muscles that you're going to be using.
Right.
But then other things are just things to be aware of. So drumming is a repetitive activity, and there's nothing we can really do to change that. I mean, the very nature of drumming is to be, repetitive and keeping time and that sort of thing. But so what you can do to sort of mitigate that is, if you're going to be practicing for a long time, set a timer on your phone, or even like a kitchen egg timer if you have one, to take breaks, to remind yourself to take breaks every now and then.
Right.
Get up, get off of the kit, do a little bit of, just gentle movement, but let those muscle groups that you've been working have a few minutes of a break.
That's such a great point, because I think the tendency when all musicians, doesn't matter what instrument they play, when we have more time, we see it as an opportunity. It's like, oh, this is great. I got more time it's the weekend, or I'm on vacation, or, whatever it is, or now everybody self-isolating and everything. We have more time. So we think, I'm going to practice for the 4 hours slots I've never been able to do. And then, everything from stiffness to hemorrhoids from sitting too long. I mean, you got to get up and walk around. And that's another thing. While we do use our legs, those of us who play at the drum kit and have legs, you still should get up and walk around. Or I know my legs get stiff if I sit too long, so I'll get up and just kind of walk around the studio, sit back down. This is a really good point you bring up. Very important.
Yeah, thanks. And you bring up a good one about the people, drummers increasing the amount of time they're playing. Like, if you're someone who used to play like half an hour to an hour a day just to keep your chops up, and now all of a sudden you're going to start playing like 4 hours a day because that's the time we all have right now, that is a massive jump in
like in
being
running. You
straight.
would never do that in running. You'd never say, oh, I
No.
walk around the block every day. Now I've got all this time. I'm going to go jog 3 miles. You would never
Right.
do that. You'd never
Wouldn't.
survive doing that.
Well, you might, but you would almost certainly start to feel the wear and tear because your body is not used to that kind of exertion.
And cramp and probably pull muscles or tendons and who knows what.
Yep.
It's the same thing, same risk.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the same tip that we give to people who, office workers who sit all day. Set a timer to remind yourself to get up and walk around. It gives your eyes a break from looking at the screen. It gives your body a break from sitting for that long.
Right.
So it's the same principle, just we're applying it to playing the drums.
Exactly.
Something else that people can do is during your practice session is to rotate the different elements that you're working on. So if you're working with, a lot of handwork to start off, work on that for a bit and then take a break, then work on your footwork. Yeah. So you're still playing, you're still practicing, but you've now given your hands a break and are working on your feet.
Right, that's great. And you've also talked so much. I'll take questions in a moment, folks. I see John Kinston has a question. I'll get to that. Let us either share your story of a drumming injury or getting past it, like I did in the beginning of this, or let us know if you have questions. And you've always talked about a warm-up and cool-down, and you've mentioned that here. And I want to say, even if you're a speed metal player or blast beat player or something, start out just playing something mellow, just for the sake of time, just for working on your time. You don't have to be playing at 11 the whole freaking time, volume-wise, force-wise, or speed-wise, or anything. And then at the end, do that as well. It's very important. It makes such a difference. It's helped me a lot, and it's, I think as I get older, I've noticed it's helped me with my stamina. I think I have pretty good stamina for my age, and I don't sweat anymore, except for recently I did what did I do? I played all 3 impressions of Carnival 9 live all the way through, and I actually sweat. And it was funny because that morning I was telling Enja, my wife, I was saying, what I'm going to do for the live, and I'd say, I don't sweat anymore. I wonder if and I think I don't sweat because I'm very well conditioned because of these things we're talking about. Cooling down, warming up, and really paying attention, just simply not overdoing it,
Yeah. Yep.
Really important. What's the most common thing that could happen if people ignore this advice? Is it cramping? Is it pulling muscles? Is it tendinitis?
I think in terms of the big jump in playing time, that's definitely a lot of wear and tear on your joints and your tendons and things like that. So you could get into situations where, you could develop some tendinitis if there's some friction points between your tendons and the bones, the way they're sliding, that sort of thing. Muscle fatigue, definitely a potential issue. And even, one of the things that I wanted to bring up today is why it's so important to see a professional about this if you are experiencing issues, because it might not be that the pain you're experiencing is because of muscles that are tight. It could be that they're not strong enough. They're too loose and not strong enough to do what you're asking them to do. And if you don't go and get that, a physiotherapist can tell that very easily. They have tests that they can do to immediately pinpoint which of your muscles are too short, need stretching, and which ones need strengthening. And if you, because this actually happened to me, I was training for a 10K race, and I was having some hip pain, and I thought, it must be tight. And I started stretching and stretching and stretching. And I finally went to a physio because it wasn't working. And she's like, no, you have no strength in your glutes. You need to do exercises to strengthen them. And when I started doing that, the pain went away.
Ah, interesting.
So it could be, there's any number of things that could be happening. So that's why it's, I've written articles on, how to manage, different injuries. But the point that I really try to drive home is that those are all good starting points, but you really do need a professional, especially if you try those things and they're not helping. You need to go see someone, because they will be able to take into account your particular anatomy, your particular circumstances, and figure out specifically what the problem is for you and what you specifically need to do to address that injury.
Great. Thank you. I'm going to take a question real quick, give some shout outs. Hey, Nogales Gilbert, and if you're in Singapore still, hello. Randy Rask, hope you and your wife are well. Kathleen Mercer is tuning in. Jimmy B, thanks everybody. Jeff Azar, you've got another family stalker on board. Let's see. Hey, Carlos. Let's see what John says. So John Kisting says, question, my chiropractor has warned me about jumping into a diagnosis of carpal tunnel syndrome. She says that basically tennis elbow can masquerade as carpal. Do you have thoughts on that?
I do, and I completely agree.
Okay.
There definitely wrist pain does not necessarily indicate carpal tunnel syndrome.
Okay.
Your wrist, the nerves that feed your fingers originate up here.
Oh, wow.
And so to get from here, they have to travel all the way down your arm, up and into your hand. So the carpal tunnel is the space here, okay? And that certainly can be a spot where the nerve can get pinched and a lot of friction can happen, and that can be an issue. But that can also happen up here. It can happen in the shoulder. It can happen nerves can get pinched between your muscles. If you are someone who hunches on your computer a lot, you're putting different muscles are getting too tight, and they could be putting strain on the nerves that are coming out of your neck and feed into your hand.
I think I only hunch at the computer when I'm planning something evil and diabolical. Then I'm going to hunch over. I'm going to get those guys. Otherwise, I have pretty good posture.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely.
Interesting points.
It's important, and yet again, why it's important to get assessed by a professional who will be able to help pinpoint that.
Great. I hope that was helpful, John. Jim Ho has a question, and the question simply is carpal tunnel. So, Jim, let us know if Nadia's last answer answered that, or if you have a deeper question about carpal tunnel, something more specific. And no other questions yet. Let us know if you have questions, folks. I have a couple questions. How much does weight not weight, but proportionately overweight or body fat percentage contribute possibly to drumming injuries? Does it have anything to do with it?
Other than, a person who's of a larger stature has more body mass, and that takes more muscle force to move that mass. So it could, from that standpoint, that could pose a potential problem. It could be straining the muscles more. It puts more stress on your joints. But whether that's that wouldn't be specific to drumming. Those are potential issues with having a larger body mass, no matter what it is that you're doing. Those kinds of issues would come up with pretty much any activity.
Great.
That's not to say don't do it. You absolutely want to do it, but those reasons are good reasons to do the exercise to help promote good movement for your body and things like that. So
and eat a salad.
Yeah. Definitely.
And
lean stuff, grains, healthy fruits and vegetables, all that stuff.
Yeah.
We should all be doing that.
Yeah. Except for those of us like me who can't eat fruits anymore.
Yeah.
But I make up for it in other ways. When you were studying to become a kinesiologist, how much did hydration come into the things you learned? Is it within your purview to talk about how important hydrating is when it comes to injuries related to movement and muscle mass and tendons and things like that?
Yeah. So first, remember, kinesiologist. I'm not actually a kinesiologist. That's a protected term in Ontario, and you have to be registered to be able to use that term. And I am
but you're a professor of kinesiology.
I am a professor of kinesiology, yes, and I have undergraduate and master's degrees in kinesiology. We did learn a little bit about that in my physiology classes. That wasn't what I majored in. So I know that hydration is important. It's really important for keeping up your blood volume. so that, and to help with body heat dissipation and things like that. So definitely in terms of drumming being a strenuous exercise, you want to keep up your hydration for, when you are playing for long periods, because your body needs it to help you, again, cool down and to keep your blood volume, meaning if you're not replacing the fluids that you're losing through sweating, your body is losing like the water component out of your bloodstream, basically. And so your heart has to pump harder or work harder to pump your blood through your body.
Right.
Which is partly why your heart rate goes up when you're in the heat. So hydration is certainly important when you're playing. As far as preventing injury, I haven't read about a link between hydration status and injuries in general. I think I could see a link between lack of hydration in hot environments and that can lead to muscle fatigue and cramping and things like that, which could then become an injury. Right. But just like hydrating in the comfort of my own home, is that going to help me prevent an injury while playing in the comfort of my own home? I can't think of any evidence to support that, but hydration is important just for general health. So you should still be doing it anyway, which I am doing right now.
Oh, good. Yeah, she loves her vodka. Just kidding. Let's see if we got any questions. Oh, Jim Ho is saying, he's asking John actually if he warms up before he plays. That's cool. Yeah, get conversation going. Good one. Definitely warm up. Yep. I'm paying so much more attention to that now, more than ever. And then John's also asking, John answered Joe, he says, or Jim, I'm sorry. John answered Jim Ho by saying, like a madman. So he warms up like a madman. Is that warming up, though?
Yeah.
But John has
warm up gradually.
Yeah. John has another question. He says, have you heard about thumb pain that comes on almost overnight right away? My pain was so bad that I feared I was going to have to stop playing. Now I get scary chiropractic adjustments of my thumbs, and it works wonders. Wow. I don't know about you, Nadia, but the first thing I thought of when I read that was gout. And hopefully it's not gout.
Yeah, I'm not sure about it coming on overnight. So I guess my question would be, so it's totally fine while you're playing, it's fine during the day, and then you wake up the next morning and it's so bad you can barely move them?
Yeah, let us know, John, if that's the case.
But regardless, I'm something that comes on overnight like that, to go from it only being like a mild tweak or no pain at all to excruciating overnight doesn't sound like just muscle strain to me. But I'm glad to hear that those adjustments are working, because it could be muscular issues. It could be,
arthritis. Could it be arthritic?
Yeah, could be, exactly. Although an adjustment wouldn't necessarily help with that, but
right.
Yeah.
I wonder, John, you might want to check your wife's nightstand and see if there's a pair of pliers there, because maybe she's doing something weird at night. So John says, yeah, that's basically the scenario. Huh.
So it's fine all day, and then it's that bad by the next morning. Yeah.
Could it be lack of a nutrient, and somehow it's affecting the thumb? Is it both thumbs, John, or just one?
Yeah. And again, without knowing the person's age and playing history,
John's 103. No, I'm kidding. John, I'm kidding.
So yeah, it's tough to do that, but I'm glad to hear, like I said, that he's seen a professional about it and is getting a treatment that is apparently working. And hopefully your chiropractor has also been giving you some exercises to do, whether it's stretches or some strengthening exercises. Again, in terms of playing habits, if you're playing for really long periods and you're gripping the sticks really hard, that could be part of it. Either one of those two things separately could be part of it. If you're doing both, playing for long periods and gripping too hard, that could, definitely be an issue.
Right.
So, that's a case where, again, I would say, make sure that you're warming up beforehand, you're taking breaks throughout. And if neither of those things are helping, then looking at your gripping technique to see if there's some adjustments you can make that might help relax those muscles a bit so that you're not getting quite to that level of pain.
Right, and Sean answered the age question. He wrote old as hell.
So it could very well be some arthritis then.
Yeah.
And, that it's, not too bad while you're up and moving around, but that's being essentially stationary overnight while you're sleeping, the stiffness is settling in, and then it's really difficult first thing in the morning. So
for those of us who are getting older and experiencing some things like arthritis, is there a cure for arthritis? Or is it just one of those things people got to deal with once they have it?
Yeah, there's no cure for arthritis. But there's ways to manage it. And, everything from anti-inflammatory medications, or I believe there's some like osteoarthritis specific medications that you can take. But gentle movement is a good thing as well. But yeah, there's no magic, pill or treatment or anything like that will make osteoarthritis go away.
I think I have that of the brain.
As you're getting older?
Yeah, definitely. Hey, Gregor, how's it going? Merrick? Amy Tonino is on board. Amy was
Hey, Amy.
with her husband Dominic with us at the NAMM show. She did fantastic interviews. We look forward to having Amy and Dom on board again. And people were, this started within our own team with my son Alex, I believe, who was our photographer, who said that Dom, Amy's husband, looks like Mike Armentrout from Breaking Bad. And of course, people say I look like Walt. So we actually started posing for pictures as Mike and Heisenberg.
Nice.
So say hi to Tom for us. Any other questions? Let us know. And Nadia, we're going to drop a couple links in. Jimo says, I take glucosamine chondroitin. Great. Does that help? Have you noticed a difference, Jim? And I think all of us should be taking that. Fish oil, of course. But Nadia has an article that she wrote for Pamela Serafin's magazine that we both write for, actually, 21st Century Drummer. Why don't you talk a little bit about that, and feel free to drop the link in there either while we're doing this or right afterwards. And then before we go, have a quick mention of something I'm doing later that I'll drop the link in for.
Okay. Yep, I just dropped the link to the article in the comments there. Because Pamela did just recently make the first three issues of her magazine are now all available freely on her website. So, which is fantastic. So the article is in there. I'm sorry, what did you want me to?
Talk about the article. Tell them
Okay.
what to expect, so it encourages them to read it.
Okay. All right. So
it's a crossword puzzle.
The article talks about basically how to recognize the three major risk factors for developing playing related injuries. And again, by injuries, we're talking about musculoskeletal injuries, like relating to muscles, tendons, joints, that sort of thing. So I talk a bit about the big three, which are force, posture, and repetition, and how each of those kind of plays into the risk of injury. And then the last part of the article, I talk about some suggestions for how you can minimize the impact of those risk factors in your playing.
Great.
So we already talked about some of the things for repetition. For force, I mainly focused on what to do more so off the kit. So like when you're moving your drum set around, don't throw all your cymbals into one cymbal bag. We all know how quickly that can become very, very heavy.
Yeah.
So especially if you have a lot of cymbals, split them up into 2 bags, make more trips to the car, to load your gear.
You can always get your bandmates to help you. Oh, sorry.
I know, but it's worth the ask anyway. But so there's that, and then I talk a bit about posture. So the importance of promoting neutral postures, and how you can minimize your exposure to static postures, which is holding one position or keeping your joints in a certain position for prolonged periods of time. Because as much as non-neutral postures are not good for your joints, neither is staying in one position for a really long time. And
Yeah,
so you need
that's
to
true.
be aware of both of those things. So I've given some suggestions for how you can.
That's great. And those of you who travel ought to associate that with sitting at a drum kit for too long without getting up and walking around. When we fly, we always get up and walk around the plane, stretch, long car rides. We love road trips, but we hate stopping unless it's, for a good reason, but we hate delaying, to where we're going, but we stop and we get out and walk around. It's really important.
Yeah.
And I knew someone who did get one of those blood clots in his leg because he traveled so much for business and sat at a desk, So equate those hazards to sitting at a drum kit too long, or whatever instrument you play, a piano if you sit to play whatever, it's really important. And Jim Ho, to follow up on my question to him, he says most definite in regards to taking glucosamine chondroitin, says it really has helped him. So good on you. That's awesome. I don't see any other questions. I want to mention something that I'm doing later, and I'm going to drop in a link real quick. This is, I know I joke around a lot on the show, folks, but this is serious. Everything that's going on in the world right now, and there's a lot of musicians that are out of work who either gig for fun and get some extra money, or it's their total income, and now no one's gigging, no one's touring, and that trickles to, of course, our support people, the techs and producers, and everything. And a lot of people are teaching more than they ever have, and some people are switching to teaching who haven't taught. And I want to tell you something that's very important. Just because you don't have gigs to promote doesn't mean you shouldn't be marketing yourself. If ever there was a time to stay present and stay relevant, build your following and build that relationship with your following, it's now. I built the Drum Talk TV platform to over 1 million fans and reaching millions of people a month without ever boosting posts, without ever running an ad. And I speak on this every year at the NAMM show. I write books about it. I teach it to other industries. Tonight, the night this is being done, March 26th, I'm doing a free webinar from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, U.S. So that would be 9:30 to 10:30 Eastern time. And I just dropped in the link. There's a registration link. It's totally free. If you can't make it, register anyways so that I have your email, and I will send you a video recording of the presentation. And it's interactive. You'll be able to ask questions. But I'm going to teach you all how not to suck on social. Because I got to tell you something. With all the love in my heart, I got to tell you something, okay? You all fucking suck at social media, okay? You're all doing a bunch of stupid shit with hashtags that don't do anything for your posts like you think they do, and you're shooting videos with your phone, holding the phone like this, instead of like this, the way a video player is shaped. Stop it! Let me help you fix this stuff, okay? So spend an hour with me, and I will help you fix the things you don't realize you're doing wrong, okay? I'd love to see you on there with me. Nadia, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day at home with the husband and the kids and sharing your wisdom with our wonderful community. Always appreciate it.
No problem.
And we'll
Always
be back.
Be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. We'll be back again doing this next month. Nadia and I will choose a date and we'll advertise it. So that's what we got. Oh, Jim, last note, Jim Kissing says, my goal is to suck way less under your tutelage. I can help. All right, thanks everybody so much for following what we do and for joining Dr. Nadia Azar and myself, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks.